And today we end in Cupertino, the city in California known as the heart of Silicon Valley. Here, the iPhone maker Apple has quietly cut dozens of sales jobs, a rare move for one of the world's most valuable tech giants. The layoffs affect teams working with businesses, schools, and government agencies. And the job cuts also affect staff who run Apple's elite briefing centers, where big institutional buyers usually get private demos. Apple confirmed the restructuring move, but has not exactly clarified how many roles are actually being cut. The company's management notified affected workers over the past 2 weeks, and some divisions were hit softly while others were hit much harder. Workers who lost their jobs now have until January 20th to seek opportunities elsewhere inside the company or accept severances. The move caught many off guard, especially considering Apple is not struggling financially in the least. The company is on track to make nearly $140 billion this quarter alone on the back of the Blockbuster sales of its iPhone 17. This would be the biggest revenue in the history, raising questions on what triggered these job cuts. Now, Apple's official line is that it's streamlining its operations, which it says will lead to new structure, cleaning reporting, and no overlap of roles. But not everyone accepts this. Reporting cites that Apple workers say the real driver is cost, as Apple is shifting more institutional sales to third-party resellers called the channel. These resellers already handle many corporate and public sector purchases, and Apple saves on salaries and benefits by pushing sales in their direction. Now, some of the layoffs reportedly hit longtime employees who've been with the company for 20, 30 years even. Apple's government sales group has reportedly faced the sharpest blow. These teams worked with agencies such as the Defense and Justice Department, and they were already under enormous pressure after this year's 43-day government shutdown, the longest in U.S. history. And now it's worth remembering that layoffs at Apple are in fact very rare, with the tech giant CEO Tim Cook stressing in the past they've always been seen as a last resort. But lately, that just hasn't been the case. In fact, earlier this year, Apple cut teams tied to canceled projects, including its self-driving car program, its in-house display development group, and some AI and services role. And across the tech world, layoffs are still rolling. Amazon, in fact, announced it plans to cut more than 14,000 jobs, and even Meta trimmed hundreds of roles from its AI division. Still, the key takeaway from the Apple jobs cut is rather unusual. The company is making record money, but jobs are still disappearing, which begs the bigger question. When the most stable tech giant begins to change its playbook, what might happen to the rest of the Silicon Valley giants?
They promised glory. They delivered fear. They shaped nations. They scarred generations. From brutal purges to propaganda machines, from stolen power to violent falls from the throne. Welcome to The Dictator, a series that strips away the myth and then exposes the men behind the tyranny. History remembers their power. Firstpost reveals their truth.